My name's Duddits, I do builds and stuff, and today I've got an absolutely cracked Strand Hunter build that has got all the benefits of avoid subclass, invisibility on melees and finishers, and we're going to throw some Maelstroms left, right and centre whilst we are invisible. Stay tuned, an absolutely cracked build. Assassin's Cowl, powered melee final blows, grant invisibility and restore a portion of health and shields. Finishes and final blows against more powerful targets increase the duration. Pair that with a grapple melee. Grapple melee is really strong, but what I really like about the grapple melee, during and shortly after grappling, your melee attacks unravel targets. Unravel targets create a tangle, so it's a really nice little setup. You can create tangles and throw them tangles whilst you're invisible, whilst you're getting your health back, so it's really stealthy. Really nice little build, and it suits the hunter gameplay perfectly. Plus the Strand grapple is pretty strong anyway, just like so. And again, just to touch on Assassin's Cowl, really good for health regen, invisibility for tight situations. Whirling Maelstrom is really good, obviously for throwing tangles or shooting them, because this just creates whirlwinds everywhere, doing so much damage. And the way I've got this set up, you can throw a couple of these at the same time, and you can have these pretty much on a 0 cooldown. The other aspect is Widow's Silk. You have an additional grenade, so we've got 2 grapples just for our grapple melees for our Assassin's Cowl. More unraveling, more tangles as well, which is absolutely crazy. Plus your Assassin's Cowl, you can just go invisible just by throwing your melee, so it's really good as long as you get a kill with that melee. And you can just watch these little Whirling Maelstroms fly left, right and centre. I really like to run a Thread of Propagation as well, because your powered melee final blows grant your Strand weapons unraveling rounds. I've covered this sword a lot, but Thin Precipice is really good with this build as well, because I've got chain reaction unrelenting on there, so you're going to get unraveling rounds left, right and centre. Conditional Finality is a really good exotic to pair with this one as well, with the Assassin's Cowl build on Strand, because it's just a pure crowd control and it's really good for all different types of enemies. What I found is the Stasis Slug. The first shot will freeze, which will often leave enemies finishable, and then the solar one, if it doesn't kill them, it will leave them finishable as well. So like I said, really good for crowd control and to sort of manipulate your Assassin's Cowl finishes. Until Its Return is another shotgun I really like to run with this one, or the Rage Shotgun Swordbreaker. I just want to touch on this one because it's got the Cursed Thrall perk on there as well. So get a kill with your grapple, you're going to go invisible, you're going to have unraveling rounds on that with all the fragments that I've just talked about, and you've got Cursed Thrall's explosions coming left, right and centre. And there's something very nice about having Cursed Thrall explosions and unraveling rounds on your shotgun whilst being able to be invisible via Assassin's Cowl. It's just a really good little setup all round. Unraveling enemies on grapple, unraveling rounds from your weapons, which is therefore going to leave you plenty of these tangles to throw for your Whirling Maelstrom. Fanatic Tangles, Strand weapon final blows have a chance to create a tangle. A really good seasonal perk to put on, because this doesn't seem to affect the cooldown, the tangle cooldown. I was often creating these whilst I had the tangle cooldown as well. I'll just quickly go over the aspects of fragments that I'm running on this build. We've already touched on Widow's Silk, get an additional grenade charge. This one is a really obvious one to run. Whirling Maelstrom again, which we've already touched on. Really excellent aspect that I brought in for the Hunter. Grapple, again, we've already touched on that one, but that's going to unravel. Threaded Spike, which also severs as well. Sever is a 40% debuff. I always run Gamble as dodge, so whenever I dodge I always get my melee back. All the fragments I run, Thread of Generation, dealing damage, generates grenade energy, a really obvious one to run, so you get max grapple energy back. Thread of Warding, every time I pick up an orb of power, that's going to give me Woven Mail. I've got a little thing to show you at the end of the video on that. Thread of Transmutation, while you have Woven Mail, weapon final blows create a tangle from a Whirling Maelstrom, and then Thread of Propagation, which we've touched on for the unraveling rounds. But this is a type of thing you can do with it once you've got everything set up. Fly in with a melee, become invisible, create a tangle, get your Whirling Maelstrom going. Whatever that Whirling Maelstrom doesn't damage, it doesn't kill, it's going to finish. So you can literally just infinitely chain your Whirling Maelstroms and your finishers. If the Whirling Maelstrom doesn't kill the enemy, like I said, it does leave them finishable. So it's a really good little setup. You've got health regen as well via the Assassin's Cowl. and just doing extra damage with your tangles is just like an extra bit of DPS. I did do a video when this first came out as well, which I will link, but you can see how this build just absolutely wrecks all different types of situations. Really good, really safe gameplay, and there's something very magical about being able to go invisible on a Strand subclass whenever you want. And because we're on a Strand subclass, you can actually, once you've got used to this, you can have some really good fun as well. Just fun, really, just like stranding about, grappling onto things, picking your tangles up, throwing them, grappling onto another enemy, going invisible. Really fun little loop of play I found myself doing. I've not featured it in this particular video, but I did do a video on the Heart Shadow Sword. Because you're invisible as well, Heart Shadow Sword, if you've got one of them lying about, that is going to work really nice with this build as well. I will also link that video. I did that a good few seasons ago, but Heart Shadow is a really good one to run with Strand Assassin Cowl build. Super strong. I've got some more sort of seasonal artifact perks to show you that really enhance this build as well, such as elemental munitions, combatant final blows with tangles or elemental orbs have a chance to create special or heavy ammo. This works with Whirling Maelstrom. Whether you shoot or you throw your tangle, you can create loads of special and heavy ammo as well, so that's just an absolutely awesome addition. We can also run Rapid Fire Ranger. Rapid precision hits against distant combatants for a short time is going to weaken them by 15% for about 20 seconds. So this one is just an obvious one to stick on this build. Run it with another Strand weapon, something like Quicksilver, which by the way creates even more tangles as well, as we know, so you can do some really nice damage. And at times you can just stay back with a rocket launcher or a machine gun and take advantage of that weakening effects. Get in there, finish, health back, you've created a tangle, and you are literally set to go on a little loop again. So the biggest loop of the play in this is just to grab onto an enemy with your grapple and melee, and then as soon as you do that grapple melee, you're going to become invisible, create a tangle, and then the fun starts from there. So I will quickly show you my mods now. On my legs, I always like to run 2 or 3 Strand weapon surges. I can only fit 2 onto this build. You might be able to fit 3 just because of my armor stats, but 2 or 3 of them with an innovation to reduce a grenade cooldown every time you pick up an orb. On my class item, I always run a time dilation usually, so my armor charges have a longer duration. A Reaper every time I use my class ability, my next weapon kill will spawn an orb of power, and I also like to run a bomber to increase my grenade recharge rate. My chest, I always sort of stick to the same thing, concussive dampener, and then a couple of arc, solar or void resists, whichever activity you're doing at the time. We'll skip over to my arms now. On my arms, I like to run firepower, which works with grapple. Your grenade final blows create orbs of power, and then I also like to run 2 of these. Impact induction, causing damage with a melee attack, also reduces my grenade or grapple cooldown, so it's a good little pairing. Now I just want to sort of say on my helmet as well, Void Strand dual siphon mods, whichever ones you want of them. You can run Solar Strand, things like that. Heavy ammo scout, because you create plenty of heavy ammo on this build as well, and then heavy ammo finder is an obvious one. Now Thread of Warding, picking up an orb of power, grants woven mail, works really nicely with firepower, because every time you grapple you're going to go invisible and you're going to pick up the orb of power via your firepower, and you've also got your healing, your invisibility and woven mail going pretty much all of the time. So that is the build. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. I'll leave it all playing out like so, and I will leave a dim link in the video description. I hope you have a great week. Thanks for watching.